Hi, it's AmarRouh, and stress relief is still on the menu because I want you to live a happier and healthier life. And I want to know, how do you reset yourself after an argument? How do you get yourself back together again? Especially when you've kind of been in a shock of something, if you feel like you've been attacked, if you feel like you've been caught unawares and ended up having to protect yourself, like that kind of fight, flight, or freeze response, that emergency response that's had to come out at you without you realizing. How did you respond in the moment, and how did you recover? Resetting yourself after a stressful situation, I think, is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. Why? Because if we don't, we've heard of post-traumatic stress, and I think we can sometimes relate it to a massive tragedy or a trauma that we've had or that someone else has been through. And of course, that's kind of where it's originated from, I guess. What about the post-traumatic stresses that we go through every single day with our daily lives? So I'm trying to there's so much sun, there's so much brightness coming in, and the light's not great here, but I just want to get this out to you. It doesn't matter what's going on here. How do you reset yourself? Because we go through these stresses every single day. And if maybe we're in a relationship, whether it's a personal relationship or a work relationship, where we end up arguing a lot, or we end up feeling like we're defending ourselves, then how do we recover from that? Because if that same situation and that same response of stress, of having to protect yourself, of being on the defense, is with you all day, all the time, imagine what that's doing to your body. Imagine what that's doing, the cortisol levels, the stress levels that are going on in your body. And we know that when there's prolonged stress in the body, then it's not good for us. We don't sleep well. We don't make good, thoughtful decisions, or we don't feel like we can. We don't have as much perspective, we don't feel like we have the resources to do what we want to do. It starts to impact our physical health. You're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel good physically or mentally, or be able to manage your emotions, whatever those emotions are. So if you're going through that prolonged stress of post-traumatic stress, of going through the stress of an argument, of then having to recover from it, it's going to have an impact on you. And so if that's something that you're going through, and I'm talking about this because I went through something yesterday where I felt verbally attacked, and I am somebody who's completely prone to completely adverse to conflict. I will avoid conflict at all costs. And so if I feel like I'm being attacked, I'm also highly sensitive, whether that's directed at me or not. If someone's feeling angry about something, I'm going to feel like that. I'm going to feel the full force of that anger, as if it's being I will feel attacked. And I can either attack back, or that's kind of my response, or I will kind of completely go into shock and I will start shaking, or I'll start crying. That's my response. And so it's really easy for me to say, I could have done this, and why didn't I think of saying that? And, and this was somebody I didn't know. This was somebody who felt like it's a team I'm working with at the moment, and it was a complete stranger who felt like they needed something that they were owed. And they were owed this. They were owed something. But they wanted everybody to drop something and give it to them. And I was telling them that there's a process around these things, and everybody is owed this stuff. So, however, the way that this other person responded was shocking, and it left me shaken. It left me upset. I had to reset myself. And I did that by taking a break, went to the loo, I went outside, took some deep breaths by some trees. I also used my heart math techniques, which are my resilience techniques that have helped me immensely over the last 5 years, because they are not about calming down. They are about bringing my body physically, mentally, and emotionally back into sync. They get my mind back into order. And so within kind of the first 5 minutes I was able to do that, I did have to go and speak to someone. I did have to say, I'm going to take a break. I am not going to answer a call at the moment. And so But here's the difference. What it allowed me to do is probably within 2 hours, I had reset myself, and I hadn't thought about the person. I wasn't angry at them. I wasn't angry at myself for maybe having done things differently. It was fine. It was an upsetting situation. It was done. I didn't hold on to it. And in the past, I would have held on to it. And that would have been my post-traumatic stress of holding on to it and reliving it, whether it was through a conversation with somebody else or whether it was kind of thinking about rethinking things in my head again and again. That would have been my post-traumatic stress. But I felt like I recovered really quickly. So, and it got me thinking about you. How do you recover from it? And I'm not saying you have to do it my way. My way works really well because I know I've tried it. I've used it with other people. But what's your way? There are other ways. How do you reset yourself? How do you even notice? Get to notice, because I want you to look after your health. I want you to notice these little small post-traumatic stresses that you go through that are, you don't have to, that you can live a happier, healthier life. And it's noticing these small things. You know, everybody says don't sweat the small stuff, but the small stuff adds up. So if you notice the small stuff, every time you have an argument with someone or you feel upset after speaking to somebody, how do you reset yourself? And I had a client the other day who was saying that the biggest insight he was taking away was, and he had been through some, a lot of trauma, and found himself needing to find techniques and ways to help him reset himself to recover. He said the biggest insight he had was that he realizes he can reset himself after a situation. You can reset yourself after a situation. You can recover. You can notice. You can not give yourself a hard time. You can say, ouch, that really hurt, but actually I did my best. You can choose to physically take yourself out of the situation and go do something else. You can choose to talk to someone. You can choose to understand, actually, if this is repeating itself, it could not be anything to do with that person. You could be upset because something old is coming up for you that happened years and years ago that you're still holding on to. That could take a little bit more work to let go of, but you can still do it. But start to notice this stuff and start to reduce those post-traumatic stresses. I hope that's useful for you. AmarRouh, over and out. Bye.